Hi, I'm Jourdan Bell with Texas A&M AgriLife, and we're at the North Plains Groundwater Conservation District Water Conservation Center. And we are back at the cotton demonstration field. We have now accumulated about 1,100 heat units since planting, and we have started to bloom. When we look at the age of our blooms, we are actually starting to see that we do have bloom tags on some of our early bolls. So this gives us an indication that this field probably did start blooming about 7 days ago. Of course, we do have blooms that this is the first day of the bloom. We have that white bloom indicating that this bloom just opened today. We also do have pink blooms indicating that this is yesterday's bloom. When we look at the blooming process or the flowering process, flowering actually is a process that does occur over several days. On the first day of flowering, the flower is white, and that is the day when pollination is going to occur. So if we do have extreme heat or water stress, we could actually have some sterilization of some of those anthers, and there could be poor pollination just of a few anthers. Now, of course, cotton is a plant that, being that we bloom over an extended period and we have many bolls per plant, that plant is going to compensate. But when we think about the importance of pollination and ensuring that we have optimal conditions for pollination, that can be very critical, because every anther that pollinates is going to ensure that we have a fertile seed, and of course our lint grows from our seed. So that is something that really does start occurring as soon as we start this bloom process. In our irrigated plots, we're able to see that with the irrigation, we've really maintained that vegetative development. In addition to the irrigation, we've also had 3/4 of an inch of precipitation this past week. So when we look at our development, we do see that we're actually starting to put on a really good second and third position bolls. So if we come up and we are at our sixth node, and then we come out, we actually see that on this we have 1, 2, 3 fruiting sites. And so of course, with our first position on that sixth node, we're just past match head, and then we're seeing these outer positions are going to be those that are less developed. And we can see distinct differences between the irrigated and the non-irrigated. As we previously indicated, that we want to look at irrigation management so that we can simulate irrigating corn and cotton in a rotation. And so we do want to look at the value of the early season irrigation versus focusing irrigation later in the season. One of the first things that we notice when we move over to our non-irrigated plot is the plant height. In the non-irrigated plots, we're looking at plants that are about 18 inches tall. In comparison, in the irrigated plots, we're looking at plants that are anywhere from 22 to 24 inches tall, which that does indicate that under irrigation, as we're keeping that plant in vegetative development, we're going to need to be aware of the growth and make sure that we have our PGRs on in time so that we don't encourage a lot of excess vegetative growth in place of the reproductive growth. Another difference, of course, is the blooming and how the blooming is occurring. In the irrigated plot, we see that we have just very few of the first blooms starting in the bottom of the plant. There are a few bloom tags indicating that we probably did start seeing our first blooms late last week, but as a whole, we're looking at blooming that has occurred over the last 2 to 3 days. In our non-irrigated plot, we're actually seeing that we're blooming all the way up our plant. We have, of course, today's blooms, we have bloom tags, and nice size early bolls indicating that these were blooms that occurred probably early last week. We, of course, have our pink blooms. We have blooms that are becoming redder, indicating that they're probably closer to 3-day-old blooms. Another thing that we look at when we talk about blooming is two terms that are often used interchangeably: blooming out the top as well as cutout. Of course, blooming out the top just indicates that all of the fruiting positions up the top have actually started blooming. But the other term, cutout, actually refers to a bloom being 5 nodes from the top of the plant.